Going live. You're live. Why is it all blurry? Okay, I don't know. If I mess with it, will it improve? That's odd. Okay, sorry about the picture quality. I don't know if that's permanent. Here's sort of an unscheduled broadcast. The previous ones I had been watching videos. Oh, now it's live. Okay, I don't know if that reset or not. I don't know why it's blurry, and I don't know how many times it takes to be correct in the focus and whatnot. Anyway, as I was saying in previous videos, I had been watching videos by, I think, 4 women, different ones, some that are really most of them that didn't consider themselves minimalists or weren't trying to be minimalists anymore. This video is kind of odd because the woman does not actually claim to be a minimalist. She just has kind of a funky style where basically she likes men's clothes, or at least the look of men's clothes, maybe not, or like women's interpretations of men's clothes maybe suit her more. But I watched one of the videos because I thought it was going to have, it said 4 steps and then turned out to have a 5th hidden step, so I'll get into that. But I thought it was going to be 4 steps on what we, would think about in decluttering and, repurposing and refining and revising our wardrobe and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't any of that. It was more her shopping strategy than her, I don't know, cyclical shopping strategy. So it was more like, okay, well, let me just get into it. Like, actually, let me backtrack. In the previous video, I was talking about how people could find clothing that they hadn't worn in a year or more. I think a lot of this is because they moved and they didn't declutter before they moved and have that yard sale. They thought, well, I'll sort it out when I get there. And then those boxes ended up in a garage or a closet or somewhere. And you finally find it a year later and go, oh, I've been looking for this. And then you try it on and find out it doesn't fit or whatever. Like I said, I was going to talk about that more in a previous or an upcoming decor video instead of a fashion blog video. And I may or may not get around to that still. But yeah, you should really have the yard sale before you move if possible. Otherwise, that's kind of a bad strategy for if you're under the gun and you have only a week to move, then yeah, you're going to take everything and figure it out, or take as much as you can. Otherwise, if you have time and your house is on the market, be figuring out how to go through your stuff, right? But anyway, so in this 4 steps, which again will actually be 5 steps, the first 4 that were revealed were discovery, referencing, categorization, and implementation, which I'll get into each of these. But then there was no follow-up, like how long these garments last, how often you plan to refurbish them or replace them, that kind of thing. So it kind of ended right where I wanted it to get useful. That's kind of why I'm making this, because again, this person isn't a minimalist, but wants to adopt what they consider minimalist strategies to buy less or buy more impactful or intentional, which I've been saying for over a year already. But somehow these strategies, this is where it'll get funny. We'll see. The first, where it fails to actually achieve even that. So that's why I'm you'll see. So in discovery, it was, what are their influences? What are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? And women, almost invariably, they're doing these wish boards or Pinterest things. Or I don't do that. I don't know any men who do that. Maybe some men do that. I do similar to that. But anyway, so in the discovery phase, we had influencers, brands, and publications. Okay, so if you read fashion magazines, then you're up on the trends. Again, I'm not a trendy dressing person. It's not really important to me. Again, I'm not also female, so it's even less important to me in, Because again, women's clothes tend to be more seasonal, tend to be more like that. Men's clothes are meant to last longer and endure more wear and tear. I think that might be part of the reason why she prefers men's style clothing, because then you don't have to buy it as many times because it lasts more than one, season. Also, I don't really care about influencers. I don't consider myself an influencer. I don't sit on here telling you, specific brands unless, it seems relevant. Like, you have to buy this brand. Like, I tell you why I prefer these brands, but not because I think they're the only brands that do some of these things. There might be actually better brands, but they probably cost more. So if you can afford a higher quality linen shirt, you'll probably buy a higher quality linen shirt. But again, will you know if the quality is really there or if it's just the price tag? Hit or miss, trial and error. We're back down that same rabbit hole. This discovery of influencers, brands, and publications doesn't narrow that down. It's more just looking for the look. Okay. So that key element is missing there slightly. Okay. And she addresses this. So I'm not criticizing her on this part. But that leads us into part two, where part two and part three, she was kind of restating some of the stuff that was in part one. So that's where, like I said, the breakdown started to occur where, okay, you have these wonderful visuals, but you don't have that key factor, okay, of where is the better quality one? What is the better price one for the quality? That kind of thing. So the referencing literally is, finding it again to buy, because you see the guy wearing it and you don't know where he got it. And some sites will be more useful for that than others. And again, I don't have a vision board. For me, one of the things I can talk about is like when I made my Top Gun jacket. Yes, I had to go onto Yahoo and find images of Top Gun jackets and figure out where all the patches were supposed to go and that kind of thing. Or if I want a more vintage, true to real World War II one, what patches would be the right patches, that kind of thing. But like, that's not a thing I'm doing constantly. That's like a project you do like once, and then you get your jacket made and you're done. It's not like a recurring thing. And if you're a reenactor or something, then it's a lot more. You're finding videos like this, that are detailed on that kind of thing, where which are the proper leggings to go with the pants, and which trousers are the correct for that year or whatever. It's a totally, that's not stuff you're wearing out on the street very much. Where again, I think a lot of this is overthinking. Like I said, so like I said, oh, here it goes. I finally clicked onto focused. Yay! Only 8 minutes in. But yeah, like most of that I've just done from Yahoo and movies, more than really having to go to a specific website to look for it. I can, like I said, I can search it on Yahoo, or I can watch a film and get something that's close enough. Like I said, the Top Gun jacket, are any of those real Navy patches? Don't know, don't care. We just want the one that looks like the one he had. So then it came down to why she likes Pinterest. I've never been on Pinterest. I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I think that a lot of this was some of the issue in the next strategy, categorization. This was basically where she had just made a spreadsheet by brand, which again, I don't find very useful. I think most of us kind of keep track of what brands we buy without having to list them all. I've done this now in my videos about kilts and things. I've done a lot of this because it's this very specific niche garment. It's not a normal thing that you match with normal streetwear or business wear or anything. It's a little more its own thing. So, but I didn't make a spreadsheet per se. I kind of, went by what color of the tartan might go with, this or that a little bit more. And accessories a little bit, again, price range versus look kind of things. But that's, again, not something that normal people would do very often. It spent a little more of my time than, you know, I would spend if I was just getting dressed even to go to a job interview or a nice wedding or something. Like unless I'm wearing a kilted outfit to the wedding, chances are I know kind of what to wear to a wedding without needing a spreadsheet, right? Like a shirt a little bit nicer than this one with a tie, you know, probably a sport coat instead of a suit. Maybe not a hat, depending, you know. It's kind of not like you don't have to put that much thought into it, right? But here, the spreadsheet, like I said, partly done by brand. Like I said, this is really where we were starting to get in kind of misleading title terrain. And that had led us to, like I said, you know, her overall. I don't know. You don't just call like somebody. You don't just call people names, you know, but but like this is, it's a little bit dull, a little bit dry for, you know, that much thought. You know, you like men's clothes, fine, you know, like that's not super exciting. It's not super brand new. Like women have been dressing in men's jeans for several decades now. It's not like you're cutting edge, above and beyond cutting edge, you know. But so implementation, this was basically, again, now instead of just a Pinterest, now we've made a wish list, which somehow wasn't in the categorization. But this is where I started to get kind of like, okay, when are we ever getting to the part that I want to hear? Because the wish list was stuff like complaints, like even on her wish list, it's stuff that she wants to buy. A couple of things she had already bought and not just deleted, like army pants or army clothes and khaki pants or something. Okay, you bought them. Why didn't you delete them? She was having trouble finding bandanas. I think you can walk into any liquor store and get bandanas. It's not really that hard of a thing to track down. She had asked, what makes a flannel shirt interesting? Don't know. Well, if you don't know, come to my channel and I'll talk about flannel shirts for 30 minutes, right? There's a lot of things that make flannel shirts interesting, actually, unless you're just going to JCPenney because you just want a warm shirt. And then, I don't know, maybe the plaid just makes it interesting. You like plaid. You don't like plaid. What, you know, if you're looking for something above and beyond plaid, yes, there are flannel shirts that achieve that, but then they cost $200. Okay. So on the wish list, I just found it funny. Like, and one of the things was like, she couldn't find a gray sweater. She's missing a gray sweater from her life, but she just can't. I don't know how hard it is to find a gray sweater when you know you're specifically looking for a gray sweater. She said she had tried in thrift stores where she never finds them. Personally, I won't go to thrift stores very much anymore. She said eBay is much better. I agree. She liked how you could find stuff a lot easier on eBay with the search selections and fine, whatever. I find eBay not as great as that because a lot of the sellers don't know how to type in things to make it easier for me to search them. So I'm maybe a little more exacting, and that narrows my search result too much. So I have kind of the opposite problem with eBay, actually, because I'm trying to think of all these keywords that they may have used, but then if there's a misspelling, you just never find it at all, even though it was there the whole time, you know, that kind of thing. So there's frustrations there, but I don't have trouble finding a gray sweater. No, it's not that hard. Like you're overthinking. Just pull the trigger on one, and if you don't like it, do the one in, one out thing in a year or two, right? She was saying, you know, why so many boring selections? Again, I'm sorry, that kind of comes down to personality. You want a boring wardrobe. You've basically said this. So, but then she shows pictures of these guys who are dressed not boring, but more artsy, but that's not typical menswear. So there's schism going on there. Something about intention. I forget what that went to. But my reply was not really. Sorry, my notes. My notes have let me down here slightly, but like I said, it was just funny that even with all this intention built into these wish lists and things, her system still didn't help her narrow down what she really wants and why in some pretty easy categories like gray sweaters and bandanas and flannel shirts. So, like I said, even being a minimalist might not want a plaid flannel shirt. You might want a green flannel shirt. Well, that's easy enough to figure out if you're an actual minimalist. If you're not a minimalist, then sky's the limit. You can buy whatever flannel shirt you want. Buffalo check, asymmetrical, uh, you know, again, plain. It's not really that big of a deal. So yeah, this is about the length I thought this was going to be. I just wish I had a better follow up for what that was. But anyway, part 5 though, the hidden 5th step was documentation. So okay, that was actually, like I said, that was useful. That would have been the jumping off point for what I would hope would come next, because then in documentation you already have your spreadsheet of brands that you can cross-reference with your own photos of what you think looks good and what you think looks bad, so you know which things not to buy again, right? Okay, yada yada yada. And like I said, her video just sort of ended there, right where I wanted it to be like, okay, what's the next step then? What do you do? Not because I need that information per se, but because I wanted to make it relevant in this series, so, which I think we've kind of covered already in some of those other 2 videos ago where I did the flow chart. Especially, we really got into the nitty gritty of that a lot, whereas in the previous video it was more of a reaction video. So if you really, really, really missed it, you might want to go back and watch videos, 1 and 2 at least, more than 3 and 4. I don't know. But I'm sorry that this didn't focus until halfway through, but here we are. Now I'm going to stop for the day.